Hey, hello. Welcome to week 5. And this week we try to do the impossible. We'll try to cover 37 years in 1 week. And what you'll see is uh, we're going to start in the 1980s. And the 80s are really, there's a super ton going on. The business explodes. It becomes much bigger than the 1970s. The arrival of megastars like Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, Tina Turner, Lionel Richie. Everybody from the 70s who was in a band now goes solo, like Don Henley from the Eagles, Sting from the Police, and there's about 50 of those lead singers who are in bands. George Michael of Wham, who go from a band to being solo and taking all the money, right? Don't want to give that drummer any money. We want to just keep it all for ourselves. Um, so what we'll see is the arrival of the megastars and the arrival. I think the big thing is the arrival of hip hop and rap, and we'll study that in a 4-part series. More on that in just a hair. But I think that these CNN things are really cool because it really gives you a sense of what it was like to be there with the news footage and the anchors. And if you live through it, it's really kind of funny because it takes you right back to watching some of the news shows and hearing these attitudes about, oh, rap, this new music called rap, and how controversial it is or was. There's also heavy metal, and heavy metal is kind of taking the Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin aesthetic and pumping it up on steroids. And hair metal and of course, the big thing here is the arrival of MTV. And this video killed the radio star is a song, and it's also a theme, as that seems to be the perfect description of what happened. This radio is now somewhat replaced by um, uh, by MTV. Anyway, so my kids are running around in the background. Um, uh, the 1980s. So the arrival of MTV, and it seems to be a whole new playing field as the business is now a visual business, and how you look is even more important than how you sound. So it really it's kind of sad in a way that the looks will play such a prevalent part of music starting in it starts in 1981. It's still the same. It hasn't changed. You have to have the look, or you're not going to get signed to a record label. It's just the way it is. So um, you'll enjoy this, and it's only 45 minutes long, and it's quick, and it's a nice overview of everything of the 1980s. Hip hop is going to evolution. Part one is really the early 70s and how this all came to be. How did we start reciting lyrics, rapping over a beat? And you'll see they take the old funk records, and it starts way back in New York City in the 1970s, and it becomes its own scene, and the scene develops, and somebody has the bright idea to let's make a record of this, and that maybe take us into part two, and we get up into the 1980s in part two, and I think part four is getting into the 90s, and part two is about the first hit records, taking us up to Run DMC, which is probably rap in the 1980s, at the end part of the 80s, and the beginnings of Gangsta and number four. So I think you'll really like these. They're well done. It's the same guy. If you ever watched the series, it was on the VH1, You Metal Freaks. It was Metal Evolution, and it was a 7-part series. Same guy, Sam Dunn is his name, and uh, it's 4 hours of if you love rap, 4 hours of the promised land, right? Um, and what I say here about the King's English, yes, they're, what can I say? Um, just my apologies if you're offended by any of this. it's just it just seems to go with the territory with a lot of musicians. It's not only rappers; it's all musicians. One of my favorites here. Now, this is called Texas Flood Radio Program. It's from PRI International. It's audio only. So you're going to click on school. Where's the video? I can't see anything. There's no video. Audio only. When you get into this, there's a couple things you need to do. I don't know if I can expand my window here. If you can't see, there should be a play bar right here. If you can't see the play bar, I need to, if I can do this. Move it up. You can't see it. There's up next to your screen, there is a yellow triangle. And I can barely see it right there. You got to click on the yellow triangle and you get this. And connection's not secure. Disable protection for now. And watch what happens. My whole screen is going to go and may or may not come back. Is going to have to load up there. There's a play bar. Right now I can see the play bar because I disabled the protection. Bam!
Welcome to the Blues, the history of America's greatest roots music.
Answer these questions and you'll get 100 on the quiz. I guarantee it. It's really about Stevie Ray Vaughan coming onto the scene and resurrecting the blues. The style that was so popular in the 30s and the 60s now comes around again. This has kind of come full circle now with Gary Clark, an Austin star who's also a blues player. So if you know of Gary Clark, you know of the next step in the Austin blues. So you really love this. So they talk a lot about it's one club in town. It's called Antone's, and this guy Clifford Antone is the owner, and he treats all the bluesmen like they're royalty. And we basically have it's basically Chicago in Austin. The Chicago Blues Stars all come down to Austin. They're all living. It's the late 70s, it's the early 80s, and the late 80s, and we have a lot of these. The royalty is still with us, and Austin is a blues town because we're channeling the Chicago blues. So Texas Flood radio station. You'll love it. It's great. See if I can get back to the assignments. And I just want to tell you about that so you know how to disable and if there's any problems. What is the best video of the 1980s? Video now takes us to a visual form, and at first the videos are all in concert videos or the Go-Go's driving around in their car singing "We Got the Beat." And eventually by mid-80s, we get some really, really great videos. I'm not going to give any examples. I want you to see if you can discover them. I gave you some links to the 100 greatest videos of all time. Dig deep, come up with what you think is the greatest video of all time. We'll do kind of the same thing with the 90s artist YouTube assignment. Let's look into the 90s and let's see, we got rap, we've got all kinds of music going on, the arrival of grunge, which is really America's first incarnation of punk music. And let's see if we can chronicle the 90s in a YouTube assignment. Our final project will be the last 17 years. Let's go from 2000 to 2017 and pick me who you believe is what we're going to do is we're going to trace the roots of what the artists that you pick. And I even gave you a little blueprint here of what I'm looking for. Loading. I want you to pick an artist who really wasn't out before 2000. So don't pick me, George Strait, from, or an artist who's been around forever. I want somebody who's somewhat new. The newer, the better. If you want to do something from the last 5 years, that'd be really cool. Let's look at what happened in the last 10 to 17 years to see how the trends have changed. What I want you to do is answer these questions for me, and let's see how the new music of today relates to the music of the past. All the styles and different genres are up and running. It's the same stuff that's going on, and there might be a few wrinkles that are changed to make Adele. Let's just take Adele and how she kind of relates to the past. She's got this unique sounding voice, yet the music that she's writing is somewhat related to certain styles that I'm not going to get into because somebody's going to pick her, and you can tell me what styles is she related to. So many great ones, and you can see the guy that I picked, and you've never heard of him. He's kind of a 50s throwback, and you can see that he likes Buddy Holly's 50s rock and roll, but he also loves rap and Led Zeppelin and some punk. So it's kind of neat now how we're getting artists who are combining 100 years of tradition in what they do. And if you're a musician, you've got to research, and you're obsessed with all the different styles that make up today's music. You're basically thrown into it because of your parents and your brothers and your sisters and what people are listening to, and that all comes out in your music. My dad loved the Stones and the Beatles and the Who, and that's what I grew up listening to. So that's what I love. My sister loved Elton John, so I'm an Elton John connoisseur. I know all the albums because she was playing it, and then everything else that she played. She came home with Frampton Comes Alive. She came home with some Steely Dan, and I discovered Led Zeppelin on my own. But it's kind of a cool project. I'm trying to tie everything together here to take somebody from today, and I want you to prove to me how they came up with their style. Who were their influences? And you can kind of see how this whole musician thing works, right? Click on my stuff, get some examples, get a good example of my blueprint, and then do your own. And that's going to be it for our 5-week tour of the history of popular American popular music. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. We've covered a lot, and it's fascinating if you have never realized where it came from. It's just a good musical smack in the face of where we came from. Just super, to me, interesting. And I've been teaching this class for almost 20 years, and I learn stuff every semester I teach it, and or summer term, as be the case. So there you have it with week 5, and trying to cover as much as we can here in 5 weeks. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you ever see me out playing drums somewhere, please come up and say hello and introduce yourself. I always remember the names. I've seen your name now for 5 weeks, and I seem to be good at remembering the names, even though I've never met you. But come say hi, right? It'd be nice to meet you. And I hope you enjoyed it. Also, fill out there's an evaluation form. Please fill that out if you would for the school. They would love to know if you loved or hated this class. Hopefully you loved it. Tell them, spread the word to some of your friends if you would. I think this class is one of the best kept secrets on campus, and I should have 1 million kids wanting to take this class, but not a whole lot of people know about it. So if you liked it, please spread the word. Anyways, thank you, and have a good rest of the summer.